Good morning, beautiful artists. This morning I'm playing with this little wintry, snowy landscape. And if you can see there, I've got some MAB metallics to look like snow. It's pretty simple, but there are some steps to it. So I wanted to repaint it one more time here and thought I'd share with you. I'm using my Artisto paper today. This is my fall 2024. As you know, I catalog all these and save them all, and I can refer back to them. So this one is my fall 2024. And as you know, I love that paper, just such great texture. And I will most likely pull this out and give it as a gift. So that's the paper I'm using, 140-pound cold press. I'm also using today my Paul Rubens Student My Laying palette because it has so many beautiful blues in here. I've got something stuck there. And I'm just going to go ahead and give that a little spritz here while I'm talking. So that'll be all ready to go. And let's see, I think for my brush, I will use, let's just open this up and take a look here. What would be the best brush? I think I'm going to take out my angle brush. This will be good for maybe some of the little hills there. And then, of course, my 8 round for those trees. So I'm going to focus on those 3 brushes. If I was using like a 9x12 sheet of paper, I would probably use this, the big old bad boy, but I'm using that Artisto, which is a little bit smaller, so I think it'll be fine for that. All right, the Artisto paper, by the way, is 5.5 by 8.5, so it's decent size, but not huge. All right, what I'm going to start with, what I'm going to do first is just create a little swatch, because the one I already did had mostly blues in it and such, but I want to maybe add in a little bit of pink. So let's just do that. I'm going to create my swatch here, so I have an idea of the colors I want to use together. I think I need to re-wet my stamp pad. As you can see there, it's getting a little bit light. All right, the colors I want to use, let's see. Let's use kind of a turquoisey blue. There we go. That just to me is so Christmassy and wintry, that beautiful blue color. And I'll probably use some of the greens. Let's see what greens we've got here. That's pretty dark. I want something a little bit lighter. Oops. That looks like maybe the hooker's green. And I want something just a little bit lighter or brighter. So let's try this one. Oh yeah, that's a little bit better, I think. Let me try out a few of these. And, you know, use the greens and the blues. If you want a little bit warmer, you could use those olive greens. But because I'm painting kind of a snowy scene, I thought I'd keep the colors really bright. So I'll use that for maybe some of the trees. And I wanted to add just a tiny bit of pinkish color. Let's see, maybe the rose red. Just a little bit, and I'll most likely water it down. I just want it to look like it's reflecting almost this pinkish color. We'll see as we go. I may not end up using that one, but that would be kind of a pinky color. And this is a fairly simple color palette. I feel like I want one more green here. Maybe not. But I will use the MAB Metallics, the Mirror series, and I'll use that for, look how pretty that is. Doesn't that just sparkle? I've never lived in the snow. I've been to the snow, of course, but that just reminds me so much of what you might see. And the last color I want to use is, I think, the Payne's gray, or you could use Prussian blue, just for some of those background trees to look like they're a little shadowed. I'll probably use that more like 80% pigment, 20% water. So there's that color, and I'll use that for these, just to really push them in the back. So we're gonna start first with some wet and wet. These are my colors. I think that's a really pretty palette. Look at that mirror series, that MAB, so pretty. That's gonna be really pretty sprinkled over those colors. All right, I've got my, today actually, I think I'm gonna switch it up. I don't think I will use my Artisto because I didn't prepare it and have it taped down, and this is gonna be quite wet and wet. If you do use your Artisto pads, they're great, but I would tape it down because we will be going pretty wet. The first thing I'm going to do is just grab a piece of this painter's tape, and I'm going to, you don't want to put it in right in the middle because that can be kind of boring. So I'm just going to put that right here, and that will be the end of my sky. And then from here down will be kind of that snowy scene and a little bit of the trees. So about a third of the way down. And then what I'll do is just get this wet, spray that. And this is where I could use that 16 brush, but I'm going to use this one. And just wet this. And you can have, you know, if it puddles a little bit, that's fine. There we go. Because I want this to be really washy and wet. And then I'm going to go in with that turkey blue and lay that down in there. Oh, isn't that color gorgeous? The other thing is I want it to be darker up near the top, so I'm adding in a tiny bit of that Payne's gray or oh my goodness, Prussian blue. And then I'm going to tilt my paper because I almost want it to look a little bit like stormy-ish. And then I'm going to add some darker blue up in the top here. And as it, ooh, that is exactly what I wanted. See how that did that? To me, that looks like a stormy night. What we even could do here, let's see if I have some here, is at this point, you could sprinkle in just a tiny bit of fine salt. And I think it'll just give a hint of maybe it looks like some snow or something up in there. Now I'm going to hit it with my heat gun. You can also use a blow dryer. And there we go. You can see the salt here, and I'm going to brush that off. And it just kind of gives some effects of maybe there's some water in the background or something. So I'll just brush that off. Remove that loose salt. And I did use a very fine salt because I didn't want it to be too noticeable. And then I'll pull my tape off. And we've got this nice line. And this down here will be like the snowy part. So here's where I'm going to work pretty wet and wet. And I might use this angle brush. And let's go in to kind of that Prussian blue here. I just love this turquoise in my lane. Isn't it so pretty? To me, like I said, I don't live in a snowy area, so to speak. but that is just the color I imagine out on the snow. And then let's find that greenish color because I think that's really pretty. There we go. This is what I'm going to do as well. Well, let's do the snow first. Let me do that first. So what I'll do here is just wet this a bit like this. So just wetting that just so it's shiny. There we go. Just kind of doing a zigzag here. And then I'm going to go in with this brush. And that is exactly what I wanted. I wanted it to be very light and washy. And almost, again, keep in mind, I, am not real familiar with the snow, but I pictured these like drifts of snow, just very soft. And because this is in the background, I wanted it to be fuzzy like that. That's why I went with the wet and wet. And then we'll do a little bit over here as well. I'm going to make this part just a little bit darker. Like that. Okay. Just rinse off my brush here. And ooh, yeah, look at that. Okay. Oops, I dripped a little there. Let me wipe that off. Now what I want to do, this is the really fun part. So one of the things I love about using this angle brush is I'm going to take one end and dip it into that Prussian blue. And then the other end, I'm going to dip into the green. Now watch this, what it'll do with these trees. Look at that. Isn't that fun? So I hope you can see that. The top is green. The bottom is that Prussian blue. And then I'm just going to go in and just kind of create these little squigglies for the trees. And I've got this beautiful mix of blues and greens. Maybe tap in just a tiny bit here and there. Oh, I had wanted to do some pinkish here too. I don't know. I'm almost kind of liking the blue and the greens. I love that green. It's like an emeraldy green. And then over here, I want this to be really washy because that's farther in the background. So I'm just going to wet this a little bit more because it probably dried now. And I'm going to make just a little shadow of some trees there. I could even use this brush, my 8. So let's grab a tiny bit more of that green, a little bit of the Prussian blue because I want it to be in the background and look a little bit more shadowy. There we go. Tap my brush off. I don't have my palette here. And now that's a little bit too much water. There we go. But I want it to look like it's behind this. So I'm not going to do any of the hard lines. Let's add in just a little bit of darkness. So I'm using the Payne's Gray here. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. And that will dry, and it will be so just a hint that something's back there. I'm not really liking this hard line here because it is in the background. So I'm just going to take a damp brush and just blend that out a little. There we go. Yeah, that's better. Okay, I'm really loving this. And you know what? I don't have too much more to go because I wanted to keep this really simple. I think I'll darken up some of those with that Prussian blue. It's almost like a black. But I'm rather liking how those are turning out. Maybe just tapping off my brush. Just a faint color in the background. So I feel like I'm almost basically done. Of course, what I want to do is take the angle brush and I'm going to, well, let's do this. Let's take our MABs, if you have them, or any metallics. If you don't have metallics, I will list the link for these in the bottom, but you can also use a white gouache. Let me show you the one I use. Use white titanium because Chinese white can fade in. The white titanium is going to be a lot more opaque. I just happen to use the Mission brand. And let's just sprinkle some of this on. Ooh, look at that. I hope you can see that in the camera. I'll hold it up in case you can't. Oh, so pretty. And then what I'll do is just use a little bit of that. Oh, look at that. This is exactly, if I lived in the snow, this is what I imagine it to look like. Look at that. I'll hold it up so you can see that. So, so pretty. Oh my gosh. I love it. There we go. So let me hold this up so you can see those. Look at that shine. Isn't that fun? Oh my gosh. Now let me just sprinkle on a tiny bit of the white gouache and you can see what that looks like. Because if you don't have those metallics, you can use white gouache as well. It's perfectly fine. I actually have a little in my palette here. By the way, when I do use white gouache with my good brushes, I rinse them and wash them really good with like a brush cleaner. So let's go in here, just wet that a bit, but I'm leaving it probably 90% pigment, 10% water. And let's just tap in here. Now this you'll probably see a little bit better. And there we go. And I'm basically done. I don't even really want to do too much more for this because I almost want to make it look like we snuck outside and came across this beautiful scene here in the winter. So there you go. I hope you give this a try. I love this. I will probably do some more of these. And happy painting. Most of all, just have fun and play and practice with all these things. And if you don't have, this is the Meeden, which you know I love. It's my second favorite. It's 100% cotton. But if you are using your Artistos, they're perfectly fine. I would just take the paper out and tape it down because you are using quite a bit of water here. All right, have fun, everybody. This was a really fun one for me. I really loved the simplicity of this, but yet it looks like it has so much drama and emotion in it. All right, happy painting.